All right, looks like we're on. So yeah, just welcome. I just want to thank everybody for showing up to this Talanoa Fijian Community Conversation Talk, where we are talking with a few Fijian community leaders led by Taniela, our community navigator. King County Public Health has just spread out resources to really talk about what are some of those social determinants of health, those external health factors that are determining our health outcomes as we shift beyond COVID things, beyond COVID barriers, beyond vaccinations. We really want to talk about what health disparities the community tonight, especially the Fijian community, is facing with these three leaders. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Taniela to introduce your guest community leaders and then enter this space and into this conversation. Thanks, Taniela.
Bulavinaka, thank you so much, Celie. Thank you for having us. Thank you very much, Voice of the South Pacific Broadcast, for having us here tonight. I'd like to say a very warm welcome to our special guests this evening, LeChante Raiwalui from the Pacific Island Health Board, and we have Amelia from Pikawa, which is Pacific Islands of Washington Association here in Washington. LeChante will introduce herself, and Amelia will also do that as well. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you to the Voice of the South Pacific Radio for having us here, and Taniela for getting us all together. My name is LeChante Raiwalui. I am, if you haven't met me yet, I am the birth educator with the Pacific Islander Health Board of Washington. I'm also a Fijian birth doula as well. I'm a mother of two, and a little bit about my background history is my mother is indigenous to the Fiji Islands. She grew up on Oneata, and she came here when she was in her teens. And I guess that makes my brothers and sisters and I first generation American Fijians in our family. I do consider myself biracial. So my father is African American. So I pull from both sides of my family lines to kind of craft the way that I go about my work. Thank you again. And I look forward to getting into this conversation with everyone. This is Omri.
Always good having you. Bulavinaka Mia, can you come on and introduce yourself? Or, by the way, Mia is actually still on the road, but that's fine. She can just hop in and introduce herself when she can. But I think we'll try and move the conversation a little bit forward till Mia joins us when she gets to her destination. So, LeChante, you had mentioned about the program that you work with, which is DOLA, right? Is that, could you kind of give us an insight and more details about the role that you play within Pacific Island Health Board? And on top of that, could you just kind of explain a little bit about Pacific Island Health Board Washington, and the areas that you serve and the types of work that you get involved with that Pacific Island Health Board of Washington actually does for the community, South Pacific community here in Washington. Vinaka.
Yes. So first, I am a birth doula. I got into birth work when I was pregnant with my son, maybe 3 years ago. And what I basically do is I provide information, birthing techniques, and now a lot of cultural support and holistic healing strategies for all birthing people. That I do through Open Arms right now and private. If you do meet, I think they have specific income standards that if you meet it, you can request to work with me for free, and other Pacific Islander doulas that work through them as well. You would just have to go to their website and fill out a referral form. And for the PI Health Board of Washington, I am the childbirth educator. So what comes with that is now we have our summer curriculum where you get to sit through 3 to 4 hour class, and I give you all the information you need from conception to infant care. Now, my biggest goal going through and being a childbirth educator is to be able to connect our culture to the Western practices that we have to kind of navigate around here in the King County area, living in the US. What that means is I go through a very deep cycle of learning your connection to yourself, learning your connection to your peoples, and how it all comes together full circle, and how you don't have to necessarily give that up when you come to America. You want to be American, but there's still a lot of important lessons and what they call it. They call it like, it's not medical based.
Traditional, sense that it's traditional knowledge, and when it comes to birthing, it's kind of like what you're trying to implement as well with the birthing strategies that they have already here in the US. Is that something that?
Yes, basically. I myself am going through a lot, like this work, it takes a lot of digging and just being open. A lot of the traditions that we have back on the islands are going to be lost with our elders now that everyone is moving here. So I feel like it is our job but for those who do feel that calling, to sit with your elders, to sit with people who have that knowledge and keep that knowledge going, because that's what we do. We sing songs, we talk, we listen, we sit at the feet of our ancestors and our elders and listen. So that's really what the birth class is going to be. There will be a lot of information that, like, what to eat, what not to eat, how to take care of yourself properly, what all of your options are, but also there is that cultural part that's very relevant today. So the PIHB also has programs for mental health hikes, where we take hikes together and we can just talk about things. Getting outside is very good for us melanated people. Know that the sun is very good on our skin and our minds. So we do that. We have navigators who can help you get healthcare, whether you are documented or undocumented. Again, all of these services are free to all Pacific Islanders in the community. And getting out this knowledge is going to be so beneficial to everyone. I see Amelia. It looks like you're safe and driving. I'm so happy that that we get to see your face.
Thank you so much for that, LeChante. That's a very interesting work that you get involved with, especially when it comes to birthing. Does the program begin when someone? When does the cycle start for, if you like have a client to get involved with this? Was it when they're pregnant, when they start getting pregnant, or prior to that? And are there like resources for these young mothers, like in terms of resources? What I'm trying to say, are there resources like employment? Are there resources for single moms? Are there resources for just young mothers in general?
Those are very good questions. So it's very good for you if you're pregnant and close to birth. There's really no time limit. If you are a birthing person and you're thinking about becoming pregnant and fit all of those categories, it's good to enroll and just know, because the more you know, the better you'll be able to help yourself. As for resources, we are connected to a lot of local, organizations who do provide these services. So we know people who are connected to if you need help with domestic violence, if you need housing, if you need clothing and food, we have all of those resources and can provide you with referrals and help you get immediate help.
And if folks wanted to get a hold of you, can we put your email address in the comment box?
Yes. That
Okay.
is correct. LeChante at pihealthboard.org.
Okay, I'll put that in. I'm doing the background stuff.
Yes, sorry.
No, but I liked how you were talking about that decolonialistic way of thinking, because it's not assimilation by disassociation, it's acculturation, right? Trying to learn all that made us us and made us Americans at the same time, and marrying those two ideas together. So I appreciate you calling that out.
Thank you.
Because yeah, most of us are forced to assimilate and be quote unquote Americans, but we're islanders. We come from somewhere. It's like Moana said, the ocean chose me. I was like, oh, I resonate with her. But I'm sure everyone here has watched Moana. Just don't want to make an assumption. But yeah, sorry. Back to you, Taniela.
Thank you, Silly. Yeah, the traditional knowledge aspect of the work that you get involved is very interesting because are you actually working with some of the elders in our community here in Seattle to kind of get this information on how they had practiced traditional knowledge during birthing periods back at home, and kind of get involved a little bit, because that would be interesting to know, because I know we have different ways of doing things back in the islands, especially in Fiji. There's a lot of traditional medication that's involved as well. And you know how this traditional medication is. It's like, when you're on traditional medication, people barely try and take the Western medicine for some reason, and and I don't think, and I think that would be a challenge in our community here if you get involved with traditional meds, because the hospital here require you to actually take medication that comes from them, and I know for a fact that even hospital bills for people that's giving birth is quite hefty, in the sense that it's very expensive to actually give birth here in the US compared to giving birth back in the islands. But thank you so much, LeChante, for giving us a lot of information on the role that you play. And it's quite an honor to have someone that's Fijian that does this work in our community, because we really need people like you in the community. I'll quickly, Amelia, if she's on, or she's probably going to try to connect. And then with the Pacific Island Health Board, the role of getting people to actually go on and apply for health insurance, is this through the Washington Exchange, for the undocumented as well? Is it kind of different from? So what I'm trying to ask is, so the benefits from the insurance that's provided through the exchange, is it different from what people who are documented receive? Was it the same?
You know what, as I'm thinking about it, that program is for Kofa Islanders.
Oh,
so, yeah, so that resource is directly for Kofa Islanders, and I believe it is a little different than the regular Washington State Health, but yes.
Thank you. Miliam Bula Binakalewa, how are you? Are you able to chime in very quickly? My apologies, you're still on the road, or we can't hear you. Could you turn your mic on a little bit? Mia, we can't hear you. Could you turn your mic on for your Zoom on your phone?
Or maybe unmute it.
Yeah, I think she had it on mute. No audio on my end.
Maybe log off, and then when you log back on, it says connect to audio, and click the connect to audio button.
There was a lot of work that Pacific Islander Health Board and Pikawa were involved in during COVID. I know it was quite challenging at that time, but now that you guys are back to your office in 5, right? Is that where you're located? And then, so people like, do they have to book an appointment to come in and see you, or do they just, is there walk-ins or any other?
You can definitely walk in. Our office is open. Someone's always there to help. For a specific service though, if you want to just meet privately with someone, I would recommend going to our website, getting the phone number and calling beforehand. But other than that, just stop by.
Awesome.
And then the website is pacificislanderhealthboard.org.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'll put that on there. And I did happen to stop by your guys' office, I think it was last week, and met Lika and some of the team members who were there, along with some allies from Tacoma Pierce County Public Health. But I did miss you. I did not see you when you were there.
I know. I got these 2 rascals, so
Yeah, can't blame you.
I'll be in and out. Someone is always there.
Mia, it's so unfortunate that we can't hear you.
Oh, I'm back on.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. First of all, apologies everyone for the tech difficulties today. On the road, we were a little backed up at work, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Taniela, for the invitation, and nice to meet everyone on here. I'll just let you take the cue, Taniela. Where are we at? I'm sorry.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. We had LeChante just introduce herself very briefly and the role that she plays with the Pacific Islander Health Board, and I was hoping that you could do the same as well. Just a little bit background of yourself, where you hail from in Fiji, and the work that you get involved with Pacific Islander Health Board. I know you get involved with a lot of community work out there as well, especially during COVID. You were very active in the community, and we'd like to hear a little bit about it, because most of our Fijian people in our community are not very well aware of the services that you actually provide from this organizations, and it would be nice to actually have a little bit of educating the community members on the resources and the roles that you play. Vinaka.
Bulavinaka everyone. Amelia was born in Fiji. On my paternal side, my father is from the island of Benga, aka the Firewalking Islanders of Fiji. And my mother, on my maternal side, she's from the beautiful island of Kadavu. My family migrated here in 1998, and I actually started to get involved with Pacific Islander Community Association through Taniela. It was Taniela who posted on Facebook about volunteers being needed to go distribute food to our Pacific Islander communities down in King County. And so that's how I got involved. So I signed up to volunteer. And then from then on, through my executive director, Joseph Saya, my Samoan brother, he had already had this vision. He was thinking of a way to start up a nonprofit organization to just cater to our Pacific Islanders. And so then he had approached me about possibly working with him to distribute food, because I am a resident of Snohomish County, to distribute food here. So I signed up that direction. And then besides just giving out food distribution. Then COVID hit us, and it really hit our community very bad. We were the highest to be hospitalized, and we were also our death rate was also highest among all the other ethnicities and even all the other BIPOC communities. So then we decided. Then he worked, digitally with his connection and resources, and we decided to stand up a COVID vaccination site for Pacific Islanders. We started that out of the office in Federal Way. So we're located in Federal Way, and our office hours is actually from 9 to 5. Um, and then that just went on. So now we're also covering a lot of social services. We have wellness navigators. We have about 5 strong wellness navigators that speak their different island nation languages. So we have a Fijian, we have a Tongan, we have a Chuukese, Coast Ryan, and two Marshallese actually. And we also have a West Papuan brother. And so from then on, our caseworkers start to work and have, find out for resources and the help of our team. We have a very good team at Pikawa. So we're able to get into a rental assistance program. It's called EPRAP with King County. We're able to have a few of our Pacific Islanders come into the office and apply for rental assistance. We were also, one of the things that we faced was people were either not getting enough hours during the COVID, when the pandemic hit, or they were actually getting laid off their work. So then hence the people not being able to pay rent, right? So we were able to secure that work with King County to be able to have Pacific Islanders come in and apply for rental assistance. And it was great. It would cover about 3 months of back pay of your rent, and then about 9 months forward if you were approved. With that, then that closed out, and now we're involved emergency housing vouchers. So the county allowed us, King County Housing Authority allowed us to have vouchers for up to 33 spots. So we're able to fill that. I think as of today, we only have 7 slots available. So if that's something, if a resident of you want to live in King County area, or you're already in King County, if you need to be on the emergency housing voucher program, more than welcome to contact us. You'd have to make an appointment to come in and sit with us, and we'll let you know the documents that you need to bring in. Apart from that, we have, apart from our Pacifica Family Wellness Program, which houses our Pacifica Food Networks, we also have our youth navigators that kind of look after the body of work where our Pacific Islanders youths are involved with. So we have vaccination for wellness clinic. We have food support, we have social support for housing. And also just today, actually, the young people had to take a few of our Pacifica youths to go to help them assist with taking their written tests to get their driver's license. So that was pretty neat to see that today. And so, yeah, we try to cover all the social aspects of our communities, that our Pacific communities would need, and we try to have it be beneficial to all the 3 island groups that we have, our Micronesian, our Polynesian, and our Melanesian. I think that's it, and I'll take questions if you guys have any.
Thank you so much, Mia, for all the work that you get involved in. So I was just curious, with during COVID, what was some of the very big challenges that the organization had seen working with our communities? What would one be? Because I know a lot of people were questioning the vaccinations during COVID-19, and how did you all, facilitate that? And in the event of hospitalizations, was there a big number between the different Pacific Islander groups? Say, for example, was there a higher number with the Samoan community compared to the Fijian community? And for COVID, during COVID is something, and I think COVID is, COVID hasn't really left. It's still around. And then how are you guys facilitating? I know you do vaccinations. Do you give out those free test kits for people to get tested at home and all those good supplies? But what are some of the challenges that you faced as a community worker with the community members?
Taniela. So when at first it was more of getting vaccine access, right? So that was one of the challenges we faced as a nonprofit trying to look after Pacific Islanders, was trying to make sure that our Pacific Islanders who want to take the vaccine would have access to that. So that's something we had to push and partner up with health agencies, and also like with hospitals. So that was one of the things we faced as workers, and also the things that our community faced was our community faced that. So we were trying to meet that. The ones who wanted to get vaccinated so we needed to get vaccine access. And then the other thing was there was vaccine hesitancy, right, from our community members. We don't trust our doctors, so then why would we trust our vaccines? These vaccines that was already getting us sick from, regular. The COVID was already getting us sick. So then, all those myths that came out there attached to the vaccine was like, if you take the vaccine, we'll get more sick. Those kind of things. We also had to fight those kind of myths that were going around. And then another thing we realized, the second question per se that Taniela asked was there more island groups that were affected? Was there more Melanesians or more Polynesians or more Micronesians getting sick, or just maybe single island nations? We personally don't have the statistics to that. But what I do know is that as Pacific Islanders as a whole, we were getting sick. Most of us were getting hospitalized. It was also deaths. In my Fijian community, what I can say is there was not as many deaths in our community rather than I saw or heard or experienced with our Samoans and our Micronesians. So that's one thing I can say for sure. I know we were also getting affected. We tested positive, but I didn't see the death rates increase in our Fijian community like it did with a few other island nation communities. And the other thing I can say about COVID test kits, in the beginning, COVID test kits was not as accessible. But today at our office, if you need it, if your family needs it, whatever number you would want, we probably won't give one family 100, but if you want 10 to 15, that's definitely something we can give you guys. Just walk in the office or call in and we'll be able to give you some test kits.
Thank you, Mia. Yeah, because we had like most COVID cases per 100,000, but the vaccination rates were high. So the reason I was asking, because we had needed those trusted messengers within the community, and the best places that we recognized was the churches, who were the church leaders who were able to facilitate vaccinations at a very high speed within the community, because a lot of people moved to lean to the church in terms of things that needs, dissemination of information and things like that. So I was very thankful for the church members, for the church leaders in our Fijian community for stressing and, highlighting the importance of getting vaccinated, because we had a few deaths in the community, which is not here in Washington, but in California. I know there was a few deaths because of COVID-19, not only in California, but the whole country is. So it's very interesting to see the dynamics of how the role that trusted messages have within our community in order to help them, educate them on the importance of getting vaccinated. And I know it's really great work that you're doing. And I also am aware that you have a program that you work with seniors in the community, and something that LeChante probably want to partner in the future, because LeChante works with, a lot of birthing moms who I know that the seniors in our community would have a lot of information and details on the traditional methods that we have practiced back in the country, because I know Amelia they work on a program with seniors as well, as far as I can recall. Like during COVID, I had seen that was part of the program that you got involved in with as well. Could you share a little bit about that?
Oh, yes, definitely, Taniela. So we have a program for our elders. We call it the Pacific Cultural Weavers Program. It currently runs every Friday. And in this program, our elders would come in, we'd provide them like just light breakfast. We'd provide lunches. Actually, we partner up with churches that make the lunch and bring it over to the office, and our staff would serve it. They would also have bingo. And then once a month they'd have movie day where we'd like play a movie that had Pacific Islanders, about Pacific Islanders, or produced by Pacific Islanders. And also they would introduce themselves. They actually have a very good time at our Cultural Weavers program, and also most recently ACRS has partnered up with us on Fridays to have a joint program together with Pikawa regarding our Cultural Weavers program. And so we have our elders there. They love it. They also get the exercise in. And and they get to share the food, the culture. And so all these churches that provide lunch, they would provide the Island Nation lunch, like island food, so that our community would provide the Chuukese food, and our Fijian community church would provide Fijian food for lunch. So they love that. They love their food and they love their bingo, and they like being with each other.
Thank you, Mia. And with the youth program that you get involved in, could you share a little bit? Is that the New Wave? What do they call it? Sorry, I think I'm not getting the name right.
No worries, Taniela. Our youth, they're called the Youth our Wayfinders program. We have youth navigators who are 18 plus, and they kind of work with our young people. And they have a youth director, Savelio Makasini. He's from the island, from the Tongan, the Kingdom of Tonga. He's a really cool guy, really neat. So he kind of, has take charge over, supervises our youth navigators. And in turn, our youth navigators run this Wayfinder program. And it's open, the Wayfinder program is open to, I believe it's 13 plus, but and then there's like a youth council that they have, and they can talk about things that they want to see change in their school system, or things they want to address in their county, or even in the state. They also had a program called Restorative Justice that they were working on. So that's about the few things. And they also learn dances of each island nation. So they have one Marshallese dance that they collectively do, and then they also have a Fijian dance that they collectively do. So that's about that. That's how our Wayfinders program is run. But more than welcome to check out our website and call in if you need more information about our Wayfinders program.
So just because, let's just touch base on the youths again. LeChante, did you guys have a program as well that got involved with the youths? Because I know you guys do have a program that involves the youth as well. Am I?
I know right now we do mental health talks and hikes with youth. We do have a specific department who does work with that and do that too. But that's as much as we have right now.
Yeah, very important in something that just kind of like everybody talks about, because anyone could talk about mental health, but it's always nice to have people who are qualified in this and well versed in that role to actually, especially in the Pacific Island community and with youth in our community, because what we're trying to see are the challenges that these youths face, because one of the biggest challenges is just the transition from leaving high school and going to college. And a lot of our youths really don't have that favorable transition of what to do after college. And I'm glad that your organizations have this mental health program and this Wayfinder program that can involve the youths, because that's a big transition from high school and trying to figure out what to do next. And a lot of youths, they just kind of get they don't really know what to actually do. And it's nice that you have these programs, and we want to continue to advocate these programs in the community so that our youths can, actually just transition well and, trying to get what they do. Are there any other programs? Because I know Pacific Islander Health Board was trying to work with some internship programs. I don't know if that was something that they continue to do, but it would be interesting to get a lot of education programs for our members in our communities, especially the Fijian community, that I feel like we really need these programs, because, and then there's resources about like how to navigate through college, and resources like how someone can attain a scholarship to go to college, what opportunities are there, or that, if they can work for a company, or a company could actually pay for their tuition while working. So these are the kind of programs that I feel that we should facilitate as community workers as well, and something that we could work together in the future to continue to, so we can have our youths progress while they're transitioning. And another thing that I wanted to bring up was, what are your what are your thoughts on the undocumented community, the undocumented members of our community? Sorry, with Pikawa, is there anything like something solid, like, with how organizations, they have the way they handle things? I was wanting to see if there was anything like really involved with the undocumented, because that's something that because what we're trying to move away from COVID now to focus on the social determinants of health. And one thing that I see that is kind of like always that's not really progressing for people, is because of their status here in the US. So there programs that your organizations are already trying to get involved in with, say, for example, classes on, trying to get the immigration status right here in Washington? Because I know there are, like, the other day I was just listening to one of my friends. She was talking about like how they have this in the Latino community, where people go and then they just help them with resources on how to file their papers here in the US. So that's something that I feel like we lack, as not only as the Fijian community, but the Pacific community as a whole. We don't have these resources, places like, hey, can we come in? Could you please let us know? Like, I'm trying to get my papers here in the US. Because when they go to hospital, because that's one thing that a lot of people who are undocumented fear, is going to the hospital, because they have this tendency that they will question their status here in the US. So it's something that I want to feel like we should always accommodate as well within the organizations, and the roles that we play is, if you're going to come here, we're going to protect you with the information that you provide us, but we're also going to educate you on how you can try and get your resources for your papers that you may need in the future. So are there programs that you're thinking about, or are there programs that you're already involved in that the community does not know?
As far as immigration for us at Pacific Islander Community Association of Washington, we do very minimal on immigration right now. Not because we fear. We totally understand that this is a big need. As you have mentioned, Taniela, it is a very big need in our Fijian community, and also I know from the Tongan community, also even the Micronesian, FSM. Island nations, because even though they are granted to be here a little bit more than the Fijians are, like different immigration process that they go through, they're still not entitled to the very things that a citizen here would have. So I know that's one of the challenges that our FSM island nations face. I know with our Fijian community, it is definitely what you mentioned, like the steps of how do I get my papers, or if I'm overstay, how do I get a change of status? So at Pikawa, we had set up a immigration clinic, and we partnered up with I think it was Northwest Immigration Rights, where they had two of their legal aides come and give us kind of like not really give us an answer, because I don't think they were allowed to do that, but just kind of guide us through which process would work for you. Depending on what immigration status you have and what's going on with the immigration status in America. Like if you were overstay, what you would need to do in order to change your status, or if you have parents that need to file for you, or like children who need to file for their parents, or those kind of stuff, like just minimum basic touch. But it definitely is still a very strong need in our community, and we hope to do as much for our immigration, for the wellness of our immigration issues around our Pacific Islanders. We do look forward to trying to building that body of work. We do a little bit of in-house Like we can help. We've had people come over, our Pacific community come over to ask for if we can help them, either just simple things like print out the I-94 or apply for the I-94, those kind of stuff, but nothing really big. We do have a lawyer that was not working pro bono, but kind of like low bono, to work with our West Papua students to update their immigration status, and also a few of our other island nation community members. But when it's pro bono or low bono, it's not prioritized. So your case is not prioritized. So we really would like to establish a solid lawyer to work on immigration stuff.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you mentioned that, because I know someone who's an immigration lawyer personally, but she's Samoan and she's out in LA. But I was hoping, like, in the future here in Washington, if we could have that one person that could just consultation for members of our community, because that is one of the things that I noticed during COVID, was because a lot of people just endured pain staying home just because of their status. They couldn't even go to the hospital to go get medication, or even go have that COVID test and tell you that, hey, you have COVID, you need to be hospitalized, until there were deaths in the community. It's kind of unfortunate that just because of someone's status here in the US is the reason why someone, it may lead to death, just because of the fear of going to places like a hospital and just getting more educated on what they might have in terms of symptoms. But thank you, Mia. That would be so nice if we actually get to engage with people, especially Pacific Islanders, because I know there's a Pacific Islanders, and I was hoping if I could get my friend from, she's Samoan, but she does immigration law in California and LA. I was hoping if she could know someone in the community, but probably something Sealy might have resources that we can tap into. But apart from that, just briefly, did you have anything that's coming up? Is there a program that you're working on or project? Apart from that, is there anything that you wanted to kind of let the community know? Because I know that a lot of people will be chiming in to watch this. Is there any programs that you feel that would be beneficial for the members of our community? Because she has the DOLA program happening at the Pacific Island Health Board, which is very unique. I thought there was a very unique program that you have going on there. And thank you so much, LeChante, for all you do. Mia, did you have anything that's going on, like the highlight of this summer, like during summer that we have going on now?
We have our Pacifica Family Wellness back to school that's coming up on August 20th. It will begin at noon, and then it will end around 3:00. So actually 4:00. So we will have just probably not backpacks, because we don't even know how COVID will even bring the kids back to school. But just like the basic back to school supplies, we'll have also vendors, Pacific Islander vendors, if they're interested to come and showcase like their craft work, or their new business venture in the catering arena, or we'll have like little activities, maybe like some cotton candy for our children and some face painting. So while the weather is good here in Washington, we're going to try to bring that. That's August 20th. We are partnering up with Big O's with Vans for the Pacifica Food Fest that's coming up next weekend. That will be at the Tacoma Dome. We're still running emergency housing vouchers for those that are interested in getting that, probably up until the 28th of this month. And then in August, we have a vaccination on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays. So we have that, and a Wayfinders program where we're starting back up here in August. So yeah, those are just a few things that we have going on. Our cultural weavers, like I mentioned, our elders program every Friday. So and if our elders that hear us are coming out, the program starts at 10, because some of our elders like to be at the office around 8:30. So just reiterating, it starts at 10. But that's about it, Taniela. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. LeChante, did you have any other, where time is not our friend this evening. We'll kind of wrap things up here. And Silly, did you have any other questions for our community leaders
Yeah, no. So, um, if you can give me those flyers, I'll post them on our King County sites, and then we can also post them on this Voices South Pacific Facebook page as well. No, but I think it's very insightful, the stuff that you guys had mentioned. The other thing I want to mention, and actually just post in the chat box, just for more or less your FYI, is we had a comprehensive hospital abstract chars thing that we submitted to big DOH, Department of Health, Washington. So what this does and why is it important? So it actually disaggregates the data of folks who actually had caught a certain disease and can bring it down by the number. Because right now we have about their first and second dose. 95% of Pacific Islanders have received their first and second dose, but they're talking about 16.9 Pacific Islanders who live in King County. However, we have the most COVID cases per 100,000. And I think that was 53,000 cases. But now what they're trying to do through this CHARS is actually figure out who are the island communities that are being affected by it, right? Because right now it's just like Pacific Islander as a whole, they've got the most cases. What does that mean? How do we reach out to these folks? Because I've had folks in our CDP and APD teams reach out to me and say, Celia, how do we reach these folks? What folks? What folks are you talking about? But just as more or less the amazing work that your organizations, both Pacific Islander Health Board and Pikawa, have done to really elevate some of this need of we need to figure out what people or what community groups you're talking about. So we actually did that on June 2022, and then the state representatives accepted it as a path moving forward, so that the next quote unquote pandemic or disease that hits, we can actually identify. For example, the Palauan community has 20,000 cases. The Samoan community has 30,000 cases. The Fijian community has 11. So we were unable to do that because they lumped us into as Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. That's another one of my issues too. It's just like, why are Native Hawaiians so important? It's not like we call it the Chinese Asian American group. No, but they call out Native Hawaiians for a reason because some of their data is needed. So that was more or less just kind of following up on some of the stuff that you guys both said. And really, I think my last question is actually mainly for you three is like, what are those taboo issues that we aren't talking about that's happening in the Fijian community? For example, on August 11th, we're taking a deep dive with the Samoan community around this issue of mental health. Because for us, it's like, when was the last time our parents asked us how we felt about things, which causes a ripple and a cycle where folks don't have a really good relationship with their kids. But why is that? So we're bringing in some Samoan elders along with some, I don't know, what do you call 20 to 30 somethings, that age group, to really talk about and unpack that issue of mental health. But why is there such a mental health crisis within, for me and for my community, relevant to the Samoan community? So that's a question I have for the three of you: is what is that taboo topic within the Fijian community that we're not talking about and that we should talk about? And hopefully we're using this platform to talk about those things. I'll stop there.
When we're talking about mental health in the Fijian community, because we come from a culture of silence, it's usually whoever's older makes the decisions and they lead the pack, and they tell you how to do things and how to navigate around this, not just here, but it's just the culture that has been passed on. But I've seen that that's kind of died down a little bit here in Washington. In the US, there's a lot of young folks are more comfortable in expressing themselves, but I think it's just the platform, like you've mentioned, like the platforms that we really need to engage in with these young folks, and more of educating these young folks, especially in our community, the Fijian community, like that you have a safety net, like you have safe spaces that you can come and engage with, and you have people like LeChante at the Pacific Island Health Board that you can come and share. And that's something that I've really kind of like just admired, is like we have these healthcare workers, the community workers now in our very own communities, and there's just more. We have two that's there at the Utopia, Diana and Amasai caregivers. We have all community workers, and that's a great thing. And we need to get more community healthcare workers that Pacific Fijians can get involved with in terms of just finding safety in the sense that this is a safe space that we can get involved in. And with mental health, that's just like a different. I feel like during COVID, we had this thing on Twitter Spaces where we had professional mental health clinicians from Fiji who are giving mental health talks on these programs. Like, it is nice to have someone talk to you about mental health, someone who is from your own background. Is that something that I just personally feel? Someone who's Fijian to come talk to us about mental health, because they can actually relate to the challenges that we face as a people, and it may resonate well, rather than having someone. It's not that we don't want them who is not Fijian come and talk to us about mental health. It's just kind of like how I feel about the whole perspective. And then it starts again as well with us as who we are as community workers, like LeChante and Amelia. It'd be nice to have this, and I'm glad that we are starting to engage more now, because now people can identify areas that they need to talk on, and then they could, just send us messages directly and get us more involved in the future. What are your thoughts, LeChante, on mental health in our community?
I agree with what you both have said about mental health being something that's important and needs to be addressed in our communities. That's actually a few of the points that you brought up. I said as well when we went live earlier this month to talk about mental health and how we deal with it. But another issue that I see within our communities is getting care, getting that prenatal care, especially because I work with birthing people. So getting to that care and starting that care and finding culturally congruent care. That means we're seeing people who understand us, like you said, Taniela, people who know our history, who know our background, who understand when you tell them that you only eat these certain foods, they're not telling you, well, this doesn't fit our pyramid, right? We come from a whole different land. We don't eat how Westernized people eat. So that's something that I'm seeing a lot of as I dive deeper into this, but also that we don't have a lot of research to go off of. A lot of our history, our knowledge is us having talks and stuff. So it's really hard to pull up facts. But the more that our people are coming in and getting this help and talking to our organizations, we're able to build these reports so that we can show, hey, we need to build these programs, or we need to make more spaces for this and get the help that our communities need. So, yeah.
Mia, did you have any thoughts on what Celia raised regarding mental health?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Taniela, and Amelia. I'm sorry, I forgot the other one. Anyway, we just have a little quick question. Like Zaini wanted to ask a question. Amelia, thanks for being inside there.
My question is for you, Celie. Earlier on, when the pandemic broke out, according to reported news, mainstream reported news out TV, Cairo, Como, King, exactly what you pointed out. The reported is in going through is people of color, but they were very specific, pointing out
To the Pacific
that a
Islanders.
large, percentage of those infected or contracted, I don't know what the scientific differences is here, of COVID-19 they named Pacific Islanders very
Yes.
clearly.
High rates.
As a listener, just a listener without any medical training or anything, I thought, wow, the data analytics they use is very impressive. So, because clearly according to these reports, that we are hugely, negatively, disproportionately, very highly impacted. Does that mean that for King County Public Health is giving us that much more to focus, since they are, since these reports come out as being very highly impacted or negatively affected? That's my
Are you
question
talking?
to you.
Are you talking about the COVID case rates
Yes,
and why Pacific Islanders have the most per capita?
right.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do. I mean, we all know that even the Fijians here is Islanders like to hang out. Doesn't really matter if there's food, if there's a gathering, we like to hang out. And no, we're not going to fist bump each other. We're going to give each other hugs, give each other a kiss on the cheek, and have a good time. So yes, well, that's one of the reasons why we had high infection rates. But the question that we had from a public health standpoint is, but who? Like, are we talking about, is it the Marshallese who have higher rates than the Samoans, than the Tongans, than the Fijians? But this new comprehensive health abstract data, what it's going to allow to do is really break that down. But I mean, when I was talking to folks from CDEPI and APD, I just said, look, Pacific Islanders just like hanging out with each other. Okay. I don't know any other data than that. It's just we like being in community. And is it wrong? Yes, but it is what it is. You're not going to stop them.
Okay, thank you, Silly. Uh, and also, I have a question here for Amelia. Amelia, after uh, hearing, all the sharing, from the PICOA, Pacific Islanders Community Association of Washington, that's one thing that I know that applies to all, um, about the undocumented immigrants. That is something that I think that will be very helpful to compile all our community leaders, so we could come over to the PICOA and support that part, because, commit to supporting the people of colors, especially our Pacific Islanders, you know, because all of us are the same, and we are all arriving here in the country to find better opportunities. At the same time, there's a lot of them come over here and never been have a chance, to become a legal immigrant. That's it, Amelia.
Um, Hello, Fatima. Nice to see you again.
Yes.
So, about the immigration, we are. I know that's a shared burden for all the island nations, especially those of us that migrate here. We are looking forward to trying to establish something concrete that would help better serve our communities, our community members, our families. They need to establish residency and also citizenship here in the United States. But as of right now, like I mentioned before, our apology, but we are kind of trying to do our best and just doing kind of the basic that we can, and hoping that in the near future we would have better resources and better connections, and a more stable way of addressing, and not only addressing but also finding solutions that are worthy of Pacific Islanders here. I'm pretty sure we'd love to work with all islanders and all our Pacific organizations.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Amelia. And before we close, we have a nice Fijian song here that we could close our program today. And thank you, Taniela, and also your co-workers. And thank you for the great program that you have shared with us today. Saini?
No, malo to all. Thank you very much. Ofa to Malos, Silly for coordinating all these efforts.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and what I would like to say is I would like to continue this conversation with LeChante and Amelia and Taniela moving forward. I'll circle back to you guys about funding, but again, for me, it's just what is that taboo issue? What is that social determinant of health outcomes that are really affecting our communities? And as you guys think of it, just let me know, and then again, we can take a deeper dive into some of those things to really unpack that as we try to work through some of these Fijian um,
Silly, I
community
think it would
concerns.
might also be very helpful if we would get, because we do have doctors in the field from each of our countries. Such as mental health. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
It's a silent issue.
Yes.
But we do have psychiatrists, Tongan psychiatrists. Unfortunately, I think the only one in Tonga. But such folks from the other countries, a Samoan, a Fijian, or whatever the
Marsalis.
other island. So I think it would be very helpful to help bridge that gap between what's holding us back
For
from
sure.
reaching out.
And from a
So
Samoan perspective, I found all the Samoan folks that I need. I'm just trying to figure out from the Fijian perspective, what is the issue? So for
Yes.
the Samoan community, it's mental health. I don't want to assume it's mental health for the Fijian community. I want the Fijian community to tell me what the issue is.
Yes.
But I just popped this question on LeChante and Amelia, so I don't want to assume what that issue might be. So this is more or less for them to kind of go back, talk to their communities, and maybe, I don't know, their issue might be different than ours. So I don't want to assume all island nations are suffering from the same thing. I was
Yes.
just using the Samoan community as an example, and then they're trusted community leaders, so they boots on the ground, so they can ask their folks, and then I really want to come back and address the issue that they want to address,
sure,
and not force my agenda on them.
All right.
understood.
Thank you, Silly.
Well,
I think we're coming over to the conclusion part of our program today. Thank
Oh,
you
can
all.
Taniela say something? Taniela looks like they want to say something.
thank you for highlighting mental health. It's just something that we haven't really touched on, and it's something that's relevant to us as well as a community. And it would be nice. I just felt like, because I've been listening to many of these other podcasts where people come in and then just talk about mental health, but one that really resonates is someone that comes from our background, or probably just the Pacific Islander, or someone that can relate to our culture and who we are as a people, to talk to us about mental health, because it will kind of like um, just something relatable to us. But just in brief, thank you so much for having us here tonight, for the opportunity to come on board, and just thank you, Voice of the Pacific, for having us tonight. We really appreciate to start engaging moving forward and in other talks that we have. And LeChante, thank you so much, and Amelia, for coming on board. We have other community workers as well, and people who we want to get involved in. I was just telling the two ladies, we work for different organizations, but we have one common goal, and that is just to serve the community. And it's nice to have us all together here tonight and moving forward, as well, in terms of actually just identifying the social detriments of health for public health. Is it has to come from the community, voices of the community. And so thank you so much for having us tonight. And we really appreciate it. And we look forward to having this more Talanoas in the future. Ladies, did you have any departing words before we kind of wrap it up for tonight?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for allowing this space. I love everything that goes on with the Voice of the South Pacific. And for Taniela and Celie and Amelia, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. This has been very well needed, and I look forward to having more of these discussions. So thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. Nisan Bula, Talofalava, Tofa Soifua, and Ofatu, Malo, Momea, Lavaleleia. This is the Fijian broadcast, like putting up all this stuff here. And also, just the last announcement, aku lava peke mautuku atu kona mo te whanonga pe, e kia ngongo ko ia, ko i keresi pe, ko i huafa ia o e waka, ne huafa ia e piliniska ni walu i katoa ngā, hono hopoki ko ia o e waka i e monite o wikosi, waka ko ia mai kainga niwa, onga niwa, nā tata mo nā whawha. Thank you again, Tino. Once again, I look forward, Tino, to have this great program for dialogue. And again, one of the things that I'd love, Tino, to talk about is how we can have a better health, because we are known as the highest obese in the world. It's not about putting us down or anything. It's just because of our social gathering with food intake, and food is like a social and a wealth for us. So we can consume a healthy food is like medicine to our body, so we can Not only we come originally from paradise, but we want to continue living in paradise. Goodbye, all. Thank you all. From
Thank you,
Voice
Mia.
of the
Thank
Pacific.
you, Anta. Ramode. Thank you, Silly. We'll talk later. Naka.
Thanks all.
Bye, Silly. Tofa Soifua, Nistambula, Mote,
Bye.
Malo of Atu.
Etangiri tu nalalini wakamau Singasalang ko di mendaruna ba Hidalumani erui mulodia Que muito toca calo calo rui serau Monandara na mamongo Me vakandini no mongo Na waga vo besana soko Ni marabo na wasai rokuni Na watigo Nongo bakamau Mona nano manongo bosa ni tatao Nukumbula kede Auna solia Na matenga menaga itinia Sai konga Sai konga Sai konga Sai konga Auna da buta yani nangu bosa ni ala yala Ngana ni tau vi mate sembula binaka Hinongu lewa nalomani kutunga Rekibinaka seminaliwa nada ba Monandara na mamongo Me vakandini no mongo Na waga voga sana soko Ni marabu na wasai rokuni Na watigo Nongo bakamau Mona nano manongo bosa ni tatao Nukumbula kede Auna solia Na matenga menaga itinia Sai konga Sai konga Sai konga Sai konga Ina watingo Nungo bakamau Mona nano manongo